Okay, so the response I got from Professor Jean Bricmont, um, it's more important than people realize because the Nobel Prize in on Bell's inequality, as Bricmont explains, the Bell's inequality is misunderstood by most physicists. And the problem is that people take classical physics first in high school, and then they don't take quantum physics until it's an advanced course. So in the meantime, they've learned the wrong foundation of reality. And Jean Bricmont is pointing out that indeed there is some kind of instantaneous information that is communicated non-locally, as 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 demonstrated in Bell's inequality experiments. And technically, you can't call it a signal, and so you might not even technically call it action for that reason. But it depends how you define a signal. And so then, as Jean Bricmont points out, that the quantum teleportation communication systems are based on this principle of the non-locality having an instantaneous communication. There's some kind of information, that's it's beyond just a correlation. And the then the non-commutativity is actually a larger mathematical dynamic of non-locality than the standard definition of randomness in terms of the statistical variables. And this is the point of Alon Khan of math quantum Fields Medal math professor Alon Khan. And Jean Bricmont told me he doesn't think Alon Khan really understands quantum physics, even though Alon Khan is a genius and in his own way. And so obviously, professors are specialized. They each have their own specialization. So obviously, there's details that everybody doesn't, share. And of course, I just read books. I mean, I got a master's degree, but it was mainly in activism. So it doesn't, in no way did it put me on any kind of career track. But again, the Bell's inequality it's what I learned in my first year of college, because I went to Hampshire College, and Hampshire College is set up based on the Oxford tutorial system, so there's no grades, and you just engage directly with the professor. And I wrote letters back to my family, my parents, about how what I was learning about non-locality was directly tied to what I had realized in music theory about this mathematical property. When I learned the Dirac dance as non-locality from this 720-degree spin. And so this ties into the gravitational mass of the photon, because it's assumed also that the photon has a zero rest mass or a zero inertial mass, which would mean no gravitational mass. But in fact, the photon does have gravitational mass. And B.G. Sidharth, the physicist in India, he says that the gravitational mass of the photon is directly due to the non-commutativity. And what I was reading Sidharth's papers again a few days ago, and he explains how there's the non-commutativity of spacetime, which was first. That was from Snyder. But then there's also the non-commutativity of momentum and energy. And that was from Alan Kahn. And so B.G. Sidharth is just saying that the two are equivalent, that it's the same, fundamentally the same non-commutativity. And basically, this was first analyzed by David Hestenes, who argued that the relativistic virtual photon is actually what makes up the electron due to this 720-degree spin as the like a Klein bottle. So you have basically like a double Mobius strip that's twisted, and so it has to be an algebraic process because it's the future and the past overlapping, and this is what violates the relativity causality. And so in relativity, it's claimed and assumed that the measurement is the same for all observers in the rest frame based on the speed of light. But what Bell's inequality has proven is that that's not true. That, as Jean Bricmont explains, that because you have this instantaneous information at a distance, then you have to have a preferred rest frame if relativity is used, and that would imply a superluminal signal, which would mean that the preferred rest frame is then not observable. So it's a direct contradiction that again violates relativity. So this is just a huge scandal that most physicists, as Basil J. Hiley points out, physicists cannot handle non-locality. They can't handle what it means. And as Nobel physicist Brian Josephson now emphasizes, that biology is more foundational. It's the foundation of reality. instead of physics, and that's due to this superluminal instantaneous action, at a distance. And because when you meditate, you're using biophotons directly, and so you're getting into the gravitational mass of the photon directly, and that gets you, so that resonates then with this virtual photons as an anti-gravitational information. And so this is why it opens up a whole new window of reality, that it has to do with the two-dimensional. So when you have this is what B.G. Sidharth emphasizes, is that when you're in two dimensions, then the photon becomes a 1/2 spin from this 720-degree non-commutative dynamic of non-locality. And so because it's that 1/2 spin that makes up the electron, and so the anti-electron as the positron is actually what Dirac considers to be negative energy. It's actually this negative frequency from the time and frequency. And so you can then absorb the virtual photons as anti-gravity. And so B.G. Sidharth says this is dark energy that can be harnessed through technology, and he cites graphene as an example. And the Jacques Sarfati is claiming that if you slow down light in the graphene, then you should get a anti-gravity effect from the back reaction, as like a reflection of the particle back onto the vacuum, creating this virtual photon resonance. So it's like a transverse Doppler effect, a transverse Doppler effect, that so it causes a redshift as you go forward, and then a blue shift from behind. That so it's the opposite from the perspective of the external observer of the particle, or well, he would wants it to be like a spacecraft. But the experiments are done with graphene. There's already been slow light experiments, what they call the slow light effect in graphene, and there's no anti-gravity effect demonstrated. So I'm not sure that the approach of Sarfati is valid, because he's trying to come at it from a relativistic perspective. So you have to come at it from a quantum non-local dynamic, and that's what meditation does. And so we know that the levitation has been well documented to occur, even though it's rare. It has been well documented in the case of Saint Joseph de Cupertino, and there's been numerous other examples of it that have been described. and also precognitive visions, precognitive visions. And so it's because people in physics are brainwashed by relativity, they have a more difficult time believing in levitation and precognition than they do in ET aliens, because the ET aliens is based on this relativistic spacecraft vision that the military propaganda. And so it's the paranormal spiritual phenomenon is based on ecology and biology that's being wiped out. It's being wiped out as the military technology keeps increasing. So the relativistic physicists are aligned with the military, spending the military research money, which is like 50% of physics research funding is for the military. So this is a deep problem of science in physics. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.